Welcome to the shop. I'm Trevor with Maker Experiment, and today I'm going to talk about my top 10 Illustrator tips and tricks. Now, if you like what you see during the video, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the post notifications so you know when a new video comes out. And we'll go ahead and get into this and start designing. My first tip for Illustrator is the paste in place. So what I'm going to do is select the design. I'm going to hit Control C on the keyboard to copy, and then if I go up to Edit, Paste in Place, it will create a copy directly on top of what I just had. So now I'll have two. You can also paste in place by hitting Control Shift V on the keyboard if you have a Windows computer. Tip number 2 is making a text or some kind of line into an object. So oftentimes when you're designing something and you need to send the file to somebody else, if you just have text like this is right now, that person will have to have the font installed on their computer for the file to open correctly. To bypass this, you can make the text into an object and it won't have to look for a font at that point. To do this, I'm going to select the design, go up to Object, and click Expand. Once I have Expand, I'll see Object and Fill, and click OK. This will then convert it to separate actual objects that are grouped together. So if I want to right-click this and ungroup it, I can actually drag these apart and use them completely independently. Number 3 is creating a circular pattern. So in this case, I want to actually make this into a Christmas ornament that has the same type of design all the way around. The easiest way to do this for me is to create one piece for each of the elements that I want to do and then rotate them around. So I have a circle in the middle of my object right now, and this will be my reference for creating the pattern. So what I want to do is actually select the two items that I want to pattern, go over to the left, and select the Rotate tool, or R on the keyboard if you have Windows. Once you have that selected, hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and hover over the center of the circle until the center text pops up. Click on that center point and it will ask you for a rotation angle. In this case, I want 5 instances of this, so what I'm going to do is type in 360 divided by 5 and hit the tab key, and it'll automatically calculate the angle for me. You'll see that it actually takes the object I had and rotates that instead of creating a copy automatically. So what I'm going to do is click the copy button, and it will automatically create a second copy of it and rotate it around. Instead of having to do this multiple times to get all 5, what you can do is hit Control D on the keyboard, and it will rotate it, and it will create another copy every time you hit Control D on the keyboard. Number 4, combining all of these elements into one big element. Right now, these are all separate pieces, but I want to make them all one so that I can send it over to a machine to cut out. The first thing I want to do is actually delete the circle in the center, because all I want this to have is the star with the violins and the snowflake look. Once I have that, I'm going to highlight everything by just clicking and dragging over it. You can see all of the individual elements. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to Object and click Expand. Then I'm going to expand the fill and the stroke and click OK. Everything's an object now, there's no single lines. And now I'll go down to Pathfinder in the bottom right, go to Shape Modes, and select Unite. This will combine everything into one singular object. Number 5, creating an outline of an object. In this case, I have the one that I combined in my tip number 4. I'm going to select it, and outlining it can be as simple as either reversing the fill and the stroke, or I can go down to Pathfinders, select the Outline tool, and it will automatically create an outline. And you can see that everything was merged together properly and there's no extra lines. Tip number 6 is creating an outer boundary for an item. In this case, say that I wanted to engrave this ornament design instead of cutting it out. But I want there to be an outer cutout to this that actually follows the shape of the violins and the snowflakes. What I can do is copy this, paste it in place with Control-Shift-V, and then I'm going to go up to Effect, go down to Path, and select Offset Path. I'm going to use the value of 0.1, and I'm going to hit Preview. You can see that it starts to make everything offset from the original. I'm going to click OK, going to go up to Object, select Expand Appearance, and then select Outline from Pathfinder. And that will give me an outer boundary on both sides. Tip number 7 is adding and removing anchor points using the pen tool. So what I'm going to do here is select my object, go over to the pen tool, and then you can see all of the nodes that are on this. Let's say that I want to add a node right here in the middle of this path. All I have to do is hover over it, click on the line, and you can see that it added an anchor point to it, and now I can manipulate that line any way I want. Now if I want to remove that point that I just created, I can select it, go over here to the Properties panel, go under Anchors, and choose the Remove Selected Anchor Point. This will get rid of that point, and it's like it never existed. This can be very useful when you're creating those boundaries around items where you get a point that you don't like, and you can simply remove it and it gets rid of the issue. Tip number 8 is using the clipping mask. Clipping mask can be very useful for doing things like masking off a photo or actually creating different colored items like I'm about to show you. In this case, I have 4 colored circles, and I want the D letter to become a multicolored letter, and to do that I'm going to use the clipping mask. So what I'll do is highlight everything, right click on it, and select Make Clipping Mask. This will take that letter D and actually clip all the stuff behind it and bring it into itself, and that's how you get the color. Tip number 9 is going to be about selecting. So here I have a star that I grabbed off the internet. I'm going to select it and actually image trace it. So I'm just going to use the default presets, make sure that it traces, go over to Properties, and expand the geometry. Next, what I want to do is ungroup everything so that all of this is single objects. So you can see if I move it, it's all kind of in different spots in different places. So what I want to do is I'm going to select just the white portion. And the reason for this is if you have black and white photos like this, it will trace and actually give you a white object on top of the actual black anyway. So if I drag this off, you'll see that there's still a gap in the black behind it. So it's giving you extra stuff you don't need. So I'll select that white piece, go up to the select option, go over to same, and select fill color. This will select everything that has the fill color of white in this case, and I can hit delete on my keyboard, get rid of all of that extra geometry that's not needed, and now I have one singular object. And that brings me to tip number 10. I want to be able to draw inside of different designs. So what I want to do is select the text that I have here, go over to the left hand side, and at the bottom near the color you'll see a drawing modes option. Select that. Then I will select the draw inside option. Next, what I want to do is just click off in space somewhere, click on the paintbrush tool, and I'm going to change the colors to red just so it's different from the black. So I'm going to change both the fill and the stroke to red. And then I'm just going to click and draw randomly all around. It doesn't really matter what you do, it's art. So make it however you want. And then if you let go, you'll see that it contained all of that nasty drawingness into the text itself and gives you a nice clean look. So this is a cool way to get different designs and effects on top of your text pretty easily and pretty fast. That's going to do it for my 10 Illustrator tips and tricks. Now, there are a lot more tricks and a lot more tips, and it's hard to cover them all in one video. Those are just the ones that I use most often in my design for laser and CNC work. But if you have other questions about Illustrator, reach out, let me know, email them, DM me on Instagram at Maker Experiment, and I'll do my best to answer those for you. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, as well as turn the post notifications on so that you're made aware of when I release new videos. You can also check out anything I do on my Instagram and also my website, which is makerexperiment.com. That's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you next time.